Hello. My name is Andrew and welcome to my channel dedicated to software engineering and in particular problem solving of one thing. I have a problem which is related to day-to-day morning routine. It's keeping YouTube channel alive, generating content for it. And right now it's taking too much my attention to generate a video, maybe a number of videos. I must SSH to a remote server, I must execute script, I must approve things, and all of this done in one SSH session. Fortunately, there is Tmux, which is fine. Even if I lose connection, I can reconnect and come back to Tmux, but still I don't like that flow. I tried to update it, but in the end it always requires my attention. So I decided to reanimate one of my projects, which is I think 6 years old. I used to develop it using Python. Let me show you. GitHub.com. Here it is. It was Python Celery, Redis Celery, so it was simple queue which accepted some tasks and used to process the tasks. The problem is there are dependencies which I don't like. I don't want to keep Redis, I don't want to keep Celery. Also, Python project by itself, it's quite a tough thing. I cannot deploy it as easy as binary. So, also I had UI for this. I think it was Angular. Yeah, Angular. That UI was quite interesting because each of blocks had some input, output, and I could chain compatible blocks. Unfortunately, there was a big problem related to arrays. By that particular date, I didn't have enough time. Right now I do. And this is the solution which I would like to present. Its architecture is quite simple. There is one binary, maybe a number of binaries, but it's just one binary per hardware. Multicast network DNS and shared storage for the results. Nothing more. Which means I can use this is Raspberry Pi. It's working. Yeah. So I can have one binary there, which will be always on. I can have it on my laptops. I have two laptops. Where are they? Yeah, here they are. So I can have it running on both laptops. Right now it's running on both of them, but there is a new version and the old version of this binary. So I will need to create binary distribution system. It will take a while, but I'm not in that step right now. Right now it works. It can discover each other. It can transfer tasks between different hardware. And last stream I have tested a pipeline with 4 actions. Fortunately, I had some sort of debugging time. I couldn't find the problem in code, and then I noticed that it was typo in request. So I spent yesterday, I think 2 or 3 hours implementing one of new blocks. it's to stop pipeline if things happening. So here it is, the block itself. It's it used to introduce new property, a new argument to return. Let's check. It was an interface. Where is that interface? Ta-da. Yeah, here it is. Processing. So right now, processing yields a bit more than just output and error. It also introduced new parameter named stop processing. So let's assume in here it is, new processing. No, it was here, yeah. New processing, there is some data which comes in. Maybe it's image array, byte array, buffer. Maybe it's a text from URL. I don't know, but what's important is just byte array. Then I have stop processing. The reason I have made this, it's solution which do not requires me to raise error processing stopped. It's some unique exception which doesn't require new parameters, etc. I need to understand that this processing has been stopped. Also, I have introduced new, where is that interface? Pipeline, no, it was, yeah. New status for processing itself. It can be stopped. It will be marked as stopped, as important for me. And I made tests for pipeline itself. Let me check. Stop pipeline. Yeah, here it is. There are a few tests. One of those tests, it's when I make request somewhere, some URL, and then I'm checking that pipeline should be stopped only when response from that endpoint is declined. There is also condition. So, and this test says this HTTP endpoint, maybe API endpoint somewhere remotely, gives me action declined. It's JSON from there. And here it is. The way I made this check, I simply go to the block, go to its result. I'm making JSON path to extract content. And then I say condition equals value declined. I have similar test as, yeah, here it is. I'm checking that processing number 2 has been stopped. I have similar in here, action accepted, and I think it was, yeah, I'm checking that it was declined, but since endpoint yields accepted, this does not work, which means it should be marked as completed. Yeah. Also, there is another test, more, let's call it in depth. There are 3 blocks. First block, still making HTTP request somewhere. Second block checks something, but then third block must do something. So this test ensures that second processing will stop. So nothing will happen with third processing. And there is similar test, but it doesn't stop. Here it is, condition. It's not equals, but it's not equal, it's bang equal. Here it is, the test. I'm checking that second processing is completed, and third processing is also completed. So let's run this test file. Yeah, it takes a bit because how much? Yep, everything was fine. There is logging, which says that pipeline stopped by some block and this block slug. That's what I needed to implement. I also have unit tests for this. Yeah, they're passing. So this particular stop pipeline block, it was quite important for me because it yielded some code changes. Let's say it was a lot of copy paste. I wouldn't say copy paste, it was change interface, then go to implementation and change implementation. Copy paste of Boolean types. So today my plan is quite simple. I must implement another block. It should be OpenAI chat completion, but let's check what else do I have here. OpenAI, video from image, add audio, OpenAI request, upload video. Also, let's move this here. So let's do it. Also, I had a problem. I think it was here. Yeah. So this is config file. Obviously, it can be embedded into this binary. I still have some sort of dilemma. Should I embed this file to the binary and provide ability to copy paste it to the root of the binary? So let's assume I have new credentials for some worker or some block is disabled on some worker. For example, here, OpenAI chat completion. This is a block which requires credentials, because if there are no credentials, this block will be disabled. Should I do something like this, that enabled, or should I make explicit declaration this block is disabled, or I should ignore it because detector will check there are no credentials or credentials are invalid, and then it will declare it as not enabled, disabled block, for example. So it's still a dilemma for me. And let's say I think a lot about this. But for now, let's keep it as is, because I need to implement the block named OpenAI chat completion. It's interesting because I have this block, but it's quite empty. Test, where it is? There are no unit tests for it. But here it is. Yeah, I have this block. Also, let's check, do I have it in the registry? Yes, I have it in the registry, but OpenAI block. Yeah, it has different detector. It goes to API endpoint. So I have detectors. So each block can mark itself as enabled or disabled. For example, HTTP block, it has some URL. It should simply go and make request to that URL. If this URL is available, then this block says, okay, HTTP interface is possible, is enabled. But for OpenAI, back in the day, I used this detector. It is the same, but it checks that OpenAI API endpoint is available. But I don't like it because in reality, this detector must also respect credentials. So it must make authorized request to API to get something. Because if credentials are not valid, this block should be marked as not valid, which means, let's say Raspberry Pi cannot do chat completions because it doesn't have that JSON. So this is the place where I stopped. Yeah, and I do not see any checks here. That's beautiful. It's time to implement those checks. First of all, what do I have in my pipeline right now? I mean in config. OpenAI chat completion. I have model and prompt. There is nothing else. And it's one block for now. That's beautiful. Let's check JSON schema. It has a model and prompt, which is okay. String default for all, enum, fine. Prompt type string. Okay, not a big deal. But there is no output. Right now I have another situation where I define output everywhere, but for now it is not respected by anything. Because when I will build frontend, each block must declare itself as compatible with something. For example, in here I have input, which has some property. For example, this property is string. This one is a string too. But what if my block yields an image? Should be that image passed to prompt? Definitely no. To change such stuff, I have input, but I do not have output. So in this case, I will have output, which is type string, and description, completion, output. So in this case, output marked as string. In future, UI will say, okay, I can chain only blocks with string input properties. So I can say somewhere else, like here, yeah, image at text. Here it is. Let's assume I have pipeline. First is block OpenAI completion. It yields some text. And then I say, okay, now I need to add that text to the image. And I can say, okay, there is property named text. Fill it using OpenAI. It will be correct because it has output, but image property cannot be filled by output produced from OpenAI because it's string of format file solution. But for now it's JSON only, and I'm quite happy. Fortunately, there are tests. So let's proceed. Also, I have one more thing. Let's check. It's block HTTP, block registry. I wanted to check block. There was block config. Here it is. It's some sort of config provided by. Let's declare it here. I'm block OpenAI completion config. Model prompt. That's good, but YAML. So this is, it's part of config. Let's assume I have some default values. I don't want to define them in constructors. I want to define them in config. That's the place, like here in YAML, where I say, okay, by stop pipeline, your default behavior is not to stop it. I declare stop false. Somewhere else I can declare sigma as 1.5. Image resize, if I do not pass anything, I resize it to 100, 100 with keep aspect ratio. And in case of OpenAI chat completion, let's check the name. OpenAI chat completion. Yes. Let's define config. So this config is, it contains two properties named model and prompt. In here, I should say model JSON schema has some hints, such as GPT for all prompt. Let's make it hello. So this is default prompt. It's important to have it. And now let's make config. Here is example. I think I have defined it here, model prompt, completion config, and then here in the end where I say, okay, set processor. Before that I showed the block set config section equal to, just copy paste it. Also, there is config. Fortunately, it's a singleton, so it's fast operation, and that's all. Not all. There is also another thing. It's here. I need to copy paste a bit, and it was this. Maybe I should do this as a standalone function. I'll think about it a bit later. So right now I need to do this. So where it is? So I have model and the prompt. Yeah, I don't need this. Oh, by the way, I think it was also here. So I have data. So in here I can simply say prompt don't need this. And that's it. So I will need to make a function to copy paste this, because right now it takes too much time to copy paste this. I'm not happy, to be honest. I have data, default config, data passed by user. And then I'm merging this to have some prompt and model, which are always of the same string. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this for the next stream. October, it will be 5th. Nice. Shall we name it? So I have this part of code, which should be compressed to one line of code named get user data matched by. Okay, let's do this. Compress refactor node of block related to block config extraction must be one function call instead of and 9 code. So this is what I should do, at least for the next stream, but for now, let's proceed. I had a block named, yeah, it's here. There was detector. Let's go. Yeah, detector HTTP. The same was here. It was called detector. Yeah. So it's time to update it, because I used to have HTTP call to OpenAI. Right now I have a dedicated client. Let's go to documentation. First thing first, I need to understand how do they make requests. In order to make detection, in perfect case, I should have authorized request to the API, but here it is, where example. New client. Okay, create chat completion. And this is how they check it. It's okay. There was a chatbot. I don't need chatbot. What I need is request. Oh, client. Okay, new client. New or client. So I think it's possible to do. Let's go OpenAI. Okay, API keys is good. How do I check it? Here it is. I can request list of models, and it should require authorization. Let's check it in browser. JSON. Beautiful. So I can request list of models using token, and that will provide me some sort of detection. That's already good. Now I need to go visit client library and check models. Client list models, beautiful, I have it. This is the solution. So let's go with code. Good. So in here I have it detector, detect before processor. Here is processor. Yes. Let's call it detector OpenAI. So now let's go to the registry and let's declare it. New detector OpenAI. Let's do this. Client and URL. I do not need URL. That's for sure. But what I need is client. First of all, it's not just a client, it's a client from library. It's in here. And this one. Yes, everything is correct, but in here, okay, what kind of client? I have it here as OpenAI new client. So here I say new client with token, which comes from config. In this case, config is a bit different. I should name it as, because I'm yes. So this should be working. Now let's go to the method which was telling me about list models. I'll copy paste it from documentation, and it should be this. So I have D client list models. And this is a thing. It should yield me what models and error. Most of all, I'm interested in error. So that's it. Let's visit another block and ensure that, yeah, I can do this. That's all. Now I need to ensure that it works. First of all, I need to introduce the test. To test that, I need to, it's declared here, OpenAI block. That is bad name. OpenAI completion. Yeah, that's better name. Because we'll request text to speech, we'll request whatever it provides later. And what's important, since I think Google Gemini has similar API interface, we can later say Gemini, whatever. It will be possibly inherited from this. I think Python interface definitely is the same, but as for Golang, I'll need to check it later. So let's go test. Let's move it here. Now I need to find tests. So one more thing. That's better. Now let's do the following. This is a check, sanity check for interfaces. I need to be sure that it yields some thing, because if I, for some reason, forget to rename something, this test will fail. They have to fail. Now this block config, OpenAI chat completion, good. I have prompt and model. Also, let's run this test. It should fail in here. Yeah, nice. First of all, GPT-4 dash. Oh, and here it is. It comes from YAML config. So this is a check for default config. When it happens, let's assume I forgot to pass something, it will use default values. Now I can go to the test and pick another test to copy paste some stuff. For example, this one, it's about invalid schema, invalid options, block. So on here I check that completion. I'm checking that schema is parsed correctly. Let's assume I make some mistake in the schema here. I'll add extra comma. This test should fail. Beautiful, this test fails. This is the series of tests where I must ensure this has no problems, like invalid JSON, etc. Because I'm defining it in JSON, in a string. To be honest, I don't like it, but I have what I have. Later I'll rework it. Maybe later this will be embedded JSON schemas, but for now it's just a string. Here I'm testing that schema is invalid. Good. Then I must test incorrect data. That's good. So I had a prompt model. Yep, beautiful. Now I should test the data is correct. And this is a place which should not work for now. But let's do that. I need to copy paste this test case. Name it as success. In here stop false, result not empty, error nil. But what's important, this test should fail because I have no credentials. Yeah, it fails with 401. That's beautiful. Right now, I must mock the client. So, particularly in this test, it makes a live request to OpenAI to make completion. That's good because I managed to ensure that requests are passing. There are authorization errors, but this client should be inherited differently. How to do it? Let's say I have here. I have new client. How can we rework it? I have this client from OpenAI token. It isn't created here, and it's created also. Where is that place? Here. Two places to create a client. What if I insert this client into config, and then in here I can say OpenAI client equals mock client. And then I can make some sort of records to local web server which will serve some JSON for this solution. So this is the place how to make it. First of all, I have config with getConfig. That's a singleton which yields me new config. This is the place which contains a lot of code. I will have to rework it later. So it has credentials for storage. Those credentials has some conditions, checks. I think it also contains some, places like this, as well as OpenAI credentials path. So maybe in this place, I can declare if I have these credentials, then I have a client. Just like this, OpenAI config credentials path. Let's do it here. So I will have OpenAI client. I have credentials for token in config. That's correct. It might be fetched from Vault or whatever. Right now it's stored in file, which is also okay. If this file is absent, there is no config, no token, and no problems like here. Let's make a method to get this client. So the problem is I need somehow to declare that client. There is a factory which creates a client. This factory should locate somewhere. It's tempting to locate it in config, but that is not good. Because in tests, I have the factory. It's literally named factories go, where I can say, okay, new server, new workers, whatever, like new registry entry, like multicast DNS record, it's here. What if I can say new OpenAI client, then I can pass it to the block here. I have it in detector. So detector gets the client. Let's check here, because it's first place where I must do the thing. In HTTP client, it's quite straightforward. I pass client and it's okay. In this case, yeah, I can do it here, by the way. What's wrong? Open client. Oops. Config token. Okay. So in here I can declare it as this. And then I say new block. Here is your client. So if I do that, will it break everything? Because I have process. It comes from processor. Processor has no, literal no. Yeah, it will break a lot, unfortunately. I cannot do that. I had the test. Here. Where was I mocking? Let's check documentation. By the way, maybe it's not necessary, because let's do the following. Here. Let's print this config. What I want to try, it's check an address. It's possible that I can update config OpenAI endpoint to localhost, which simply ignores the token and yields correct output. Aha, so I have token. That's beautiful. But what if before everything happens, I have one singleton for this config? Config get config. Let's check test config. How did I do it here? No, I was doing it in main test, I think. Yeah, this is what I was doing. Now I need to I think it won't work because it's a singleton from far away. Yeah, it doesn't work. That's good. That's good. Because a new block which goes to config, which is singleton. So I need to redefine the function. Yeah, I think I also did similar stuff in registries. Let's check. Yeah, here it is. I have function named getConfig, which is singleton. I need it, but I also used to have this. It's also a singleton, but if I call it with new parameters such as force new instance, it will yield me new instance. I needed that to instantiate two different registries. So I have server 1, server 2, they must contain different things. And what's important, each registry will have its own memory address, link, etc. But inside of the server, it will be singleton. So let's copy. Let's copy this for the config. I don't think it will look good, but for test, why not? Types, no, it was config. Yeah, here it is. Singleton, I have config, I need function named getConfig. Yeah, here it is. Well, that's it. Let's check. Mm. Mm. But it's also a bad idea. Uh, because here how I used to instantiate a thing, I passed catalog loader as an object to the registry, which means this catalog loader could be, it has storage. I can say local storage catalog loader or remote storage. Here it is, set storage, get storage. In config, by the way, let's do the method. Yeah, that would be perfect solution. Again, perfect solution. What I mean, where is that config? Here it is. I have the config, which has no methods. Let's do the method named OpenAI, where it is. Credentials path, token, and client. This client is going from here. now I need a method. It should be a part of that client. And another method, get client. And now the magic. In here I can say no errors, good. Client, yes. So in test I can say config given and here I can say where is this client? Config OpenAI get client as well as registry. Here it is. Also, this detector must check if this client is new. So if client for any reason this pointer is nil, then do nothing. Yes, that would be a solution. Oh, what else? Also forgot one thing. So by default, it must be instantiated like this. Credentials path. Good. Token. And then I must say, no, it should be fine. Let's run the test for config. Nothing is broken. Good. I have this client instantiated by a token. in here. I need to print. I don't need to print, I need to set endpoint. That's important. Let's go and check how do they work with endpoint config client config. Okay. Where it is? Ah, base URL. Ta-da! So, for the test, I need to say, okay, it was client config. They had a test. Nice. So let's check the test. It's unexported methods. Here it is, new client with config and better definition. Ta-da! So this token, let's make it empty. Base URL. That's interesting. I need to run some sort of endpoint. Where was it? Pipeline test. Yeah, let's do this. And here I'll have empty list. That's it. Let's check how it works. Cannot unmarshal array. Beautiful, it works. No authorization. It has no authorization there. However, I need to prepare JSON response, which will contain completion response. First of all, yeah, that's good. Completion response. Let's check. So what I want is to get any example of completion response example. Okay, I need a response. Completions create. Okay. Where is example of JSON? Prompt example. Okay, not a big deal. Let's do the following. I'll open ChatGPT to what? No. Yeah, let's go to playground. And come on. Come on, they have this. Yeah, this is what I needed. So let's go back here. I can say this is my mocked response just for the test. There is something with this JSON. Beautiful. Have I copy pasted something wrong? works. That's good. Now I need to check a few things. So it's not empty result. Yes, there is a reason why it's not happening. It's because return output and output on its own, it's empty. What I need to do, error, I need to say what is output. So by default, output this. So let's try to run this test again. So ChatGPT test works. So what I have, the trick was quite interesting. First of all, I need to create my test client with some sort of mocked endpoint. So my test creates an endpoint which always yields one message. By the way, let's update it to this. It yields only one message. And then I'm making the request through that client what I want. And this client will make requests to mocked URL. That's all. With that said, I think that's all I needed, because by default this config in runtime it will create necessary checks. But what I want to try, so when I start this binary, make start, it should not execute the tag function. So it has started. Let's go to reference and let's visit blocks. Here are my blocks. I need to check OpenAI completion. Available false. So this is OpenAI block and it marked as available false. That's good. Let's go to terminal and let's check what happens there after I have started this thing. Multicast DNS, good. Request debug. Yeah, nothing happened. I mean, there are no reports about this block was enabled. It's good. But what I would do now, I'll try to copy paste existing token to the file. So right now I should have it empty. Yeah, this token is empty. Let's check. Config. Yeah, so if those credentials are included. That's good. So what I want to do, let's run the thing. So I need to start terminal. Come on. And let's make start. So this block was not available. Now it's available because I have copy pasted correct token. A list model happened and now it works. So if I wait a bit, it makes check at startup of this binary. So it, since start happened, it announced itself to DNS, multicast DNS. Then it announced itself as enabled false. Then it took a while and then it started HTTP interface. That a while could be caused by long OpenAI response time. That's the reason why previous time it took 10 seconds to start, for example. So let's check again. Yes, it's available. It's working. That means I can make a pipeline with this block, but let's do it next stream. It's already 20 minutes over time. So what we have done today, first of all, we have implemented new block as well as tests for this block. Tests, what's important, those tests contains correct response from endpoint. I do not mock anything except response. I do not mock completion object, whatever, it's whole pipeline. Also, I have provided a method to set client in runtime. For example, in this case, this config causes set client or get client, but in here I don't have anything. I work with get client. This get client by default, it's there is a check. If it's empty, then I mark this block as not detected, which means this code will never be executed. Also, let's provide a thing, sanity check. I'll copy paste this code and name it empty client. And in here I will say nil. Let's run this test. This test must fail because it is expected never to be executed. Yes. So this code should never be executed. But let's check here. Yes, error is checked. And here, the completion also works. So right now, let's revert this file. That's it. I have removed credentials from this file. The reason I have added it because in future, I mean, why not to make it to load from environment? I'll do it later. That's all. Thanks for watching. As for plans, I have plenty of blocks to make next. I have a few days. Chat completion is already done. Can remove it from here. Let's make text to speech request block next. Yeah, this block would be fun because it takes text and receives byte to save into MP3 file with some voice, and it will be interesting. So that's my plan for Saturday, October 5. So subscribe, like and comment, and that's all. Thank you. Bye.